Alright, so this is just going to be a quick video on what to do and what not to do on QS8 connectors. So let me just try to keep this simple for you and just try to show you some of the basic things you want to do. If you're soldering a QS8 connector, please make sure you have your female and your male connector together. If you don't have these together, what's going to happen is you're going to melt these two together from the heat of this plastic. So you do want to use one of these male and female connectors together. So make sure your male connector looks like a male for some odd reason, and a female connector goes together. And now when you go to solder, this is not going to move around. So just make sure if you're doing your bullets on your battery is going to be a female connector. So these are just a different color anti-spark connectors. Pretty much you can get them in a few different colors, but they still got the resistor inside. They're still plastic. As far as that, it's just different color. So your male side is always going to be your bullets as your ESC, and your female side is pretty much going to be your battery. You don't want something that has a positive and negative that is exposed. Say this was on your battery and something touches it, now it can arc out. So if you're just traveling and you had some pliers and that was your battery, you now are going to have a detonation. So just keep that in mind. Male connector is always on the ESC non-power side. Female, which is accepting power or giving out power, it's going to be on your battery side. So what I'm going to do is get these wires pretty much cut up so that we can expose our connector. And in this case, this is a Dean's connector. These are pretty good, but for the application I'm going to use them for, they're just not going to be suitable. The limitation on this battery is it does have a good output. This is 4S2P 120C, so discharge would be 240C burst discharge. So that is pretty good for a battery pack. I know that there's better battery packs out there at the moment that people are requesting, but in my case, we're not chasing the battery right now. We're just going to get these connectors all dialed up. So you do need a helping hand, and this is my inspector helping hand called I Spy I Need a Hand. Just kidding. So let's get this taken care of. And in the background, I am slowly getting back to this dual motor build. So one thing you want to kind of keep in mind when you're doing the soldering is keep your positive and your negative away from each other. And what I like to do is get it hot. And just desolder that. So like I said in other videos, breathing in solder is pretty toxic. You don't want to breathe this in, and you don't want to have this exposed. I'm using a lead-free solder, so I'm not really going to have too much of a problem. So let's get that heat shrink out of here. And one thing I'm going to do is if I put these connectors on, these are going to go on here. In my case, let's snip these. Let's give it a try how they are. Normally I would cut these back a little bit, but in our case we're just going to kind of leave them. So you do want to make sure you got some good wire strippers that you're going to snip these wires with. This wiring is a little bit smaller than I would like. Normally you would want a 10 gauge to 8 gauge. I believe this wiring is 12 gauge, so it's a little bit too small, but we're just going to see how it's going to offset. With the high output power. So let's take our QS8 connector. We're going to put this. No, we're not going to put this one. This one is the male. So let's get it out the way. Grab our female connector. You're going to locate your connector on here. It's going to be a positive side on the side that says QS8 and a negative side on the side that has your 5.1 resistor. So let's get that soldered on. One thing I want to keep in mind is I am going to use these battery covers on bigger wires. You don't want to forget that. So let's just get that into place. We'll take our helping hand at the moment and correct our issue. So we got our socket put back together. and we're working on the positive side. So this one has a positive side on this resistor side, so it does flip, so be careful on what side you're going to be soldering. You don't want to solder the wrong side and have a problem. So the side we're soldering on is going to be positive side. And what you want to do is pretty much, since we already have a wire pre-tin, let's go ahead and get that nice and hot. So I am using a 4060 instant solder, so it is going to wick up pretty quick, and it is also going to solidify pretty quick. So you don't got a lot of time. You don't need to use a lot of solder, but let's just kind of get that taken care of a little bit more. And solder is pretty hot. If you got little girl hands, please don't hold this wire. Get something that's going to help you out. In my case, I can handle heat pretty well. So that side is pretty much done. Let's just proactively cover it so we don't run into any problems. And let's get our negative side off. Hopefully this is not boring you. If you know how to solder, honestly, just skip on in this part of it. I just want to try to do a step-by-step build. I know the RC world is pretty small. At the same time, it could be pretty big. But you know what? Everyone in life has a learning lesson. I don't know everything. You don't know everything. You do got to learn somewhere. So all I'm doing is just showing people the basics. Some people just don't have access to the basics. Some people just need that helping hand where they can see someone do it. So hopefully this is helping someone. If it doesn't help you, just enjoy your day, enjoy your life, and if you can, implement something I can change. Oh, got myself. So we're also going to strip this back a little bit. So you do want to be careful when you're soldering. Use a glove, or sometimes be careful on how hard you pull back. I got myself with some solder right there, but you know what? It's just part of the game. So you live, you learn. Don't pull back too hard. So our main goal right now is we're gonna have to try to keep these away from each other. So I'm going to just show you a quick trick that I would do just to kind of protect yourself. So I have arc batteries before, so let's just try to get that cover in here. So now we got that cover in here that's pretty stubborn. We can hold on to that now. So in my case, we're just needing this one to touch right here. Hopefully you can see that. Let's kind of zoom in a little bit. so that way you can kind of see it. And yeah, we got it on. Just kidding. Just wanted to show you guys what happens when you move a little bit too quick. So one thing that we did wrong was we forgot to put our connector on. So let's desolder this really quick. And one thing I just want to show you sometimes is you always want to double check what you're doing. Sometimes you move too quick, get ahead of yourself, and it could be a simple thing. So we got that pretty much all set up. Next thing I'm going to do is just let this cool down and make sure these wires don't touch. So one thing I don't like on here is the way that this is, the positive side is going. So I needed that positive side to kind of come back my way. So another quick trick that I like to do when I try to get these connectors in that is a little bit stubborn is I get a screwdriver where it's a little bit warm. And I just press down really hard. Some cases it's going to be a little bit hard, so Let's grab some pliers if we can. So this connector is pretty good. No issues. Sometimes I'll get it where it's just kind of like hard like that. So what you want to do is just kind of press down on this connector. Could be as simple as just getting this out really quick. Since I did kind of burn that with the soldering iron, sometimes you'll see in cases where this doesn't want to go all the way in, because one side went in before the other. So do keep that in mind. They're not going to be there we go. So there you have it. Connector is in. This is a little bit smaller wire, but it's not burned. That's the main thing. You just want to keep that in mind when you are doing higher end connectors. Take your time, do it right, do it twice. Don't get me wrong, you can run bullets, but I've already done a comparison on what happens when you're bullets. So what you're going to do now is you're going to run your positive to your positive from one side of the ESC, your negative from, say this is your positive side, you're going to run your positive from your ESC. It's going to be positive on one side. Then you're going to run your negative from your negative side to your positive side. So what's going to happen is you're going to have this connector go into your battery, which is going to be positive on this side, and then you're going to have a negative come out on this side. So that negative is going to come out, and in theory, if this was your ESC, this is how your wiring would go. So positive on one side, ground on the other. Then you're going to have your negative to your positive. So we're going to take a 4S battery to 8S, or make it another 4S, and your output voltage is going to be 8S. So max voltage usually on 4S is going to be about like 16 plus volts at full charge. Operating voltage is around 14.8. So you do 14.8, 14.8. And that's going to give you somewhere around 30 volts. Once it's fully charged, sometimes I'll go up to 32, 33 volts. So that's just a quick video on how to do QS8 connectors.